Alright, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Kudash, double honors to apostles and elders of GMS, and to the elect doing the work in sincerity and the truth. Shalawam. There's GMS precepts, and there's our chud here. And real quick, I got a few articles here. Um, this one being on the New York Post um, concerning. This is a situation that happened earlier this week. It was a shooting that happened, another mass shooting. So pretty much, these articles that I'm bringing out, they're gonna show that there's a big dissension or big quarrel within America, you know, which is all prophesied. It's a big divide, you know. Um, Let me see. This is another article. It's going into, as you can see here, about the trans fatigue in America, you know, which is very real. And you have political parties, um, whoever you're in line with, you're gonna go with that party, or you're gonna go with their narrative. So, which is gonna what cause a lot of dissension, a lot of contention within people, right? This is why, and this is all prophesied, and this is why you can clearly say or clearly see that pretty soon we're going to be approaching, it's just going to continue to escalate and be a bigger situation where you have more situations like this, whether it was orchestrated or whether this was organic. You can have more situations like this, from different, not only from, within different groups. This is more of an ideological contention with this whole, you know, transformer topic, right? But then you're gonna have racial. It's gonna bleed into racial tensions. It's gonna bleed into class tensions or class warfare. Which is all gonna cause a divide. And we know what the scriptures speak about when a nation is divided, right? There's no way that kingdom is gonna stand. It's gonna fall, and this is what you see happening right here. So this is why I say this is all prophecy. You got the political parties. It's like it's come to a point now where they never agree on anything, and it's almost just like it's almost purposeful, right? It's like they would rather divide the nation than bring them together. Um, yeah, so there's always going to be opposing, but if you read, if and the elites, they know a lot. Powers that be, they know a lot about sociology, and the easiest way to control people is to divide them, and that's what they're doing. Um, yeah, this is another article here. So let's start with this. This is something that happened earlier this week. Obviously, it's well known about this weirdo here. He shot up a church, um, which is gonna cause, you got one group saying, um, it's trans fatigue, and then you got another. The other party is just saying, well, this was caused by trans hatred. So like I said, it's always going to be a division. They're never gonna agree, but they want to control what you or how you feel about it, just so there's always going to be contention there. So let me just go straight to the scripture I had to bring out. This is Isaiah 19 and 1 and 2. And we know that in the scriptures, Egypt, when it mentions Egypt, is not always talking about Egypt. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So this is Egypt. This is in reference to Egypt, right? So this is like I said, Isaiah 19 and 1. It said, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." You see, right? So that's showing you that the Lord is the you know the Lord is gonna return. The Lord is gonna come, and He's gonna cause Egypt to just as a chapter goes on, it's gonna weaken. The presence of the Lord is gonna weaken Egypt. It's gonna weaken America. It's gonna weaken that spirit, and we can see that happening now because ever since this truth has came on the scene, and then you fast forward till 10, 15 years ago, it really spread once it once it was brought forth on the internet, and we can see that the prophecies are starting to unfold faster and faster. Why? Because the presence of the Lord is out there. You know, the presence of the Lord has His men, His prophets out there prophesying the downfall and destruction of this society, and we can see it clear as day. You see, and we can see that as years go on, the power of Egypt, the power and the influence of America is becoming weaker and weaker. Okay, and it's to a point now where America is looked upon as a joke, especially to the other nations. They look at America, they look at the people of America, the leaders of America as a big, big joke, right? And it says, verse 2, and it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom." Okay? So this is, and I can continue on. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the chambers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards." You see? So this is, this is all being done by the Most High. It says that I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. That sounds like a contention between the people, and we can see that clear as day. Anytime you turn on the news, it's always opposing views and people aligning with, and people are so stupid they don't even have their own opinion. They just go by whatever political party they listen to or align with. Whatever they say, they agree. Or it's to a point now where they've been so conditioned to think a certain way, they already feel or agree with the narrative that's being brought out by their political party because they've been conditioned to think a certain way. You see? Right? So they teach you what to think, not how to think. People, the average person can't think, they can't think for themselves anymore. This is where we're at. This is where we're at in America, or Babylon, or Egypt. Right? And this is all going to lead to a contention. This is all going to lead to a warfare, right? Let's look at this article here. No, I don't think this ain't it. Yeah, Stephen Miller. I guess he's calling the Democratic Party extreme organization. Oh, you got the situation with Trump sending the National Guard to D.C., and then now he's talking about doing the same to not Philly, to Chicago, to deal with the immigration situation, right? So, and then you have a lot of people that's against it. You have a lot of people that's with it, right? But it's all. So what is that going to cause? That's going to cause a civil war, and this is something that we talked about for years. Through the spirit of Yahawashi, starting with our apostles, we talked about there being a civil unrest. We talked about, matter of fact, we talked about it, man. Let me get that. Where is it? Let me get that. We talked about a civil unrest. Get that in a second, Ezra's. We talked about a sedition among men. right? Right. So I'll start at 14. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Now that those swords could be, now this is obvious. This really doesn't need any spiritual breakdown. This is referring to a war between the people, um, a war between people, or a contention between people and them fighting against each other. And these swords can be a literal sword, it could be a bat, it could be a stick, it could be a gun, right? Just like this dude did in this church over here, you know, resorting to violence, man. You know, where's that picture? Fucking weirdo, yeah, this fucking weirdos right here. Um, you got a lot of people that are fatigued. I don't even know if I could say this whole sentence without being flagged, but you do got a lot of people that are fatigued over this situation. You know, I'll be sure I'll leave these articles in the description so y'all brothers could and sisters could check it out. I read a little bit of each, um, but there definitely is a fatigue going on in America, and that can once again it will cause a contention, man. Whether it's orchestrated or whether it's organic, these more situations like these are gonna happen. Um, where was I? For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay, and that's going into sedition among men is contention within the government, the people against the government. It doesn't always have to be physical. It could also mean words as well. Well, more so it means words, but it could be physical also. Um, but and we're I think now we're at a all time. I think we're at an all time high where the people just don't believe what the government tells them. They don't believe what the media tells them. There's a big distrust between the people towards their government officials. Okay, it's so bad now that we can't even believe what we read and see on the news now. You know, and this is part of the um, the downfall of Egypt. This is part of the downfall of America because at one point their lies were able to hit home. Their lies were able to hit whoever they were able to land. Now they're not landing anymore. You got a lot of people not believing anything they say. Anything the news says, anything these articles say, you got to question everything now. Everybody has that mentality. 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. You got a lot of people calling us crazy about what we said or we felt or we said was going to happen. Now, you don't hear too much of that. You see? Because the lies that used to be spewed by the powers that be, they're just not holding that much weight anymore. And that's all being done by the Most High. That's all thanks to Yahawashi. Right? Alright, let me go to Zechariah. Zechariah 14 and 13, it says, And it shall come to pass that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. That's speaking about that war between each other, man. That civil war, that civil unrest, that contention, the quarrel between the people. All right, that quarrel between people, man. That's it's the tensions between people are getting. I had a cousin of mine who is not in the truth. I don't really talk to anymore ever since I got into the faith, and even him, and because he just really wasn't in agreement with what I aligned with, what me and my brother aligned ourselves with. So we just had to separate. But I talked to him every now and then, and he said, most recently, he even said, "Yeah, man, I feel like there's gonna be a race war." I just said in my head, "You stupid nigga." You know what I'm saying? Like I've been told you. But a lot of things a lot of things you once you grow in this, you start to realize who you're wasting your breath to. So in the beginning, of course, I told him, me and my brother, we told him all this shit, all this shit, man. We told him that too. He scoffed at it. Now look at now. Oh, you know what? Now I could have been like, nigga, I told you. See, nigga, I told you. I told you, nigga. I ain't do that. You know. Um, but now he's even saying, "Yo, man, it's gonna be a race war." I'm like, "Oh, word, yeah, yeah." Hey, you know. I'm not gonna waste my time, but um, what if the spirit? I gotta read, I gotta read the spirit a little bit more. Um, whether it's worth me telling him more. But in my head, I'm like, nigga, I told you, we told you already. Of course, there's gonna be a race war. You see. Um, but and then I'll close it with this. And it's gonna be a time where it's gonna be too late. We told you all this stuff. We told these people all this stuff. I was watching the video of the midweek camp, and somebody came to the brothers out there and said it. Yo, man, I remember you, man. You guys were always right. You know, I remember you guys on 34th and 7th, and y'all was saying everything y'all said was right. You see, that's this scripture right here, Ezekiel 33:33, and I'll close on this. It says, and when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Okay, so you're gonna see a lot of these things that we said in the past that were far fetched, that were crazy. It's never gonna happen. Get a job. All the stuff that we said in the past through the Spirit, starting with our apostles on down, through the Spirit of Yahawashi, we said all these things. You didn't believe it, but when it comes to pass, then you're gonna know. Okay, then you're gonna know that the real men of the Lord were the men of GMS and those that um, speak in like fashion or teach the same thing. You see, starting with our apostles on down. But then it might be too late. That's why it's high time to wake out of sleep and get what you need to get now before it's too late. Because all these things are going to take place, man. All these things are going to happen. Right? The race wars, World War III. You got World War III brewing also. You know? The sea hip. Okay? We're advancing with this AI. That's going to merge in with the digital dollar. All these things are going to be, all these things are going to come to pass. And they're going to be undeniable. So it's high time you get it now while the getting's good, or you get it now before it takes place, man, because that shows a level of faith which has to be given to you by Yahawashi. Okay, so I'll end it on that. Like I said, I'll leave these articles in the description. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters are edified. Until the next show, shalawam.